So in this video, I'm going to talk about whether a professional doctorate is a good idea. So I'm going to be talking about all sorts of professional doctorates, doctorate of nursing or, even an MD or an executive PhD in business or anything like that that is a lot more applied, that is directed at you actually working within industry and doing things that are for that are a lot more applied, that you're actually going to become a practitioner of some sort once you're done. And what I'm going to do is actually to give you some really, really important tips, I think, that will change your thoughts on professional doctorates and get you to really think about what you're doing and where you're going with it. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Massac. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out. So I actually created a sharing economy editing platform. Please go on there and purchase some credits to help out the project. That's how this all started. And there's a huge blog too if you want to check that out. So, professional doctorates, those things that are geared towards working within the field or working as a practitioner. So, common ones that everybody kind of knows about are MDs, for example. Maybe it is a doctorate in law of some sort. Maybe it is, an executive doctorate for, within business. There's lots of those that are popping up now. Doctorates of within nursing, for example. There's all sorts of really great programs that are out there that are really geared towards you becoming a practitioner and working either as a manager or, doing some sort of practitioner thing where it's applied and you're actually getting, doing more of the sort of day-to-day stuff. And I want you to think about a couple of things before you actually apply and actually go do some of these programs or start these programs. And this is really geared towards that very introductory sort of moment where you're thinking about that. And I hope I really change your mind about some of these different things that you're looking at. So here's what you should think about in terms of whether you should actually get a professional doctorate. It really is about whether the expected benefit significantly outweighs the cost of actually getting one. And I'm not just saying sort of incrementally that the thing is going to net you, a couple of $1,000s more. I'm saying like it has to be massively significant, more money that you're going to get or more benefit, not just money, but, benefit in general, joy in your life or whatever, that you're getting a tremendous amount more benefit from actually doing this thing than the cost is going to be worth. Because the cost is huge and you're going to underestimate it significantly at this moment. And you're really not going to get all of the sort of big picture. So how do you actually sort of figure this out in terms of, going forward? I actually want you to do like a term paper, like a project about this and actually write like 5 to 10 pages about whether this is actually for you. And if you actually do this and you go through this exercise, it's going to really help you out, I think, in a lot of different ways. It's going to help you identify great programs. It's going to help you out in terms of you're going to want to do this. If you can't write that 5 to 10 pages right now, don't do it. This is a terrible idea and it's going to suck and you're not going to want to do this. And I know that there's only going to be a few people that are going to do that. And that's perfect because those are the people that should be doing it. The rest of you really should question whether you should be doing it or not, because this is your job. Once you've done this, it's actually analyzing or doing things or, actually putting in a significant amount of effort before you go through and do it. So, here's the first things I want you to do. In terms of, figuring out, is this for me? Like you can actually write up, is so-and-so professional doctorate for me and actually get you to think about it. So the first thing that you need to do is get the cost of the program and cost of various different programs. There is a huge difference in cost of programs across the institutions. It is amazing how much they vary. And some of them are really, really, really expensive, and you might not want to consider those ones. And the other thing I want you to also think about is the opportunity cost. So what is that? That is your forego wages of doing something else, is something that you're comparably doing at this moment that you are going to not get because you're doing that particular program. And everybody gets this wrong. They always think that it's just the cost of the program. No, you could be doing something else that is going to be a lot more productive and making a lot more money by doing that. Instead of actually doing that program. It's really, really expensive to think about that. So really think about that in terms of calculating what it would be, how much money you would actually be making if you actually didn't do that program. And you also should be thinking about what is the expected wages. Actually physically go and talk to the people at the various different programs and get the average wages that they're going to get once they're done. Nobody does this. Don't do this sort of foolish thing where you're just going to be like, I'm going to make a bunch of money because, there's some sort of miracle from this. That's garbage. You're not going to benefit. And you also need to get the percentage of people that actually graduate. You will be surprised. Nobody talks about this. Attrition in PhD programs is atrocious. It's huge because it is very hard. You're probably looking at, much less than 50% of the people actually will go through and complete a PhD program. And in these professional doctorate programs that don't give you a lot of support, it's going to be much higher than that because they're just going to be like, here, you do it, and you just pay us to do this thing. So look at that. That's going to be a huge predictor of whether this is a good program or not, because that's going to suggest that they have support, that they're going to help you get through this thing, and is it actually going to be worth the time and effort to go through this? Because if a lot of people are dropping out, it's not a good sign. Really, really pay attention to that, and you have to sort of figure out what those expected wages are, given that you have this high chance of not completing. So really, really figure that out. Multiply those two numbers and see what your expected wages are going to be once you're done. And really sit down and think about, is that worth the cost of getting through? You would be surprised how many people don't do this. A third thing that I think is very important, you have to figure out whether you have the support network and time to dedicate towards this professional doctorate. Now, I know MD is really easy to sort of figure that out because it's going to be all of your time. But there are these online programs or, the after hour programs that you're going to think that, yeah, I could dedicate some time. No, you got to dedicate your entire life to this for like 4 years or 5 years or however long it's going to take. And it's nights and weekends all the time. So if you have small kids, really think about it. I have a neighbor that did it, or she became a nurse practitioner, and it was tough. They had small kids, but it was kind of the right time and right place, and she was on maternity leave, and it made a lot of sense. But in general, for a lot of people, really think about that. It's a huge cost, and if you don't have that family support, and if you don't have the time, and you're really not dedicated to do things on the weekends, that's why if you don't do this project right now, really question yourself. It is not going to be a great, it's just going to be a huge expense. Because the last thing you want to do is go 2 to 3 years into it and then realize you don't like it. You've spent $100,000 on this thing and stop. And then you get no benefit from it at all because you just go default to the degree or whatever you had before. And nobody knows you actually did this thing, and it's just an utter cost. So don't go into it unless you're very, very dedicated to do this. Pay attention to the programs. I want you to really think about the different programs that are out there, and there's huge variances across states. It's worth your time and effort to move, even if it's going to help you complete said doctorate program, to move to different states. If it's going to be cheaper, if it's going to work out for you, really it's not going to matter. You can always move back to where you are. It's not that big of a deal. I know it's a huge deal for you right now, but you have to pay attention to that. If there's a program that's at a different location that's going to be cheaper, but also they have a lot more support. It's got more brand name recognition that you're going to get a job that's going to pay well and you're going to do very well. It's totally worth it to make that move to a different institution and really think about that. Massive variance across them. So collect data. Actually physically collect data. Get 10 programs or 20 programs and collect that data on all of that and really get a sense of where you're going with this. And then you will see, oh my God, there's one program that is so much better than the rest of them. for the cost and benefit, and you'd want to sort of think about that. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of people do these professional doctorates not for the money or anything like that. It's more of it's not necessarily prestige. There's definitely prestige or status that's associated with it once you get it, but a lot of people do it to sort of fulfill something in their life, and think about whether it's actually going to fulfill something in your life and what the program, if it's more of sort of a research kind of thing that you're going to be doing. Think about the project of what you want to do before you actually get into it and why you actually want to do this to fulfill that thing. Really look to see what the gap is missing in your life and why you're actually doing that. Look for alternatives first before you do that, right? Look for cheap alternatives to fulfill this thing. Read a book a day, read a book a month, whatever. If that's what you're looking for is more knowledge, just start reading things. And if that's still not fulfilling you, then it might make sense to actually do a professional doctorate of some sort. Don't do it just to teach. I've seen this so many times. This is like everybody wants to teach in a university, right? And they think they need a doctorate to teach. That's not true. You could teach in a community college. You could teach in a high school. You could teach in all different ways. Just to do it to teach is a total waste of your time, and it's a waste of your money. Don't do it. It is not the way to do it. You want to do it because you really, really want to do this thing, and no other reason other than you're just very passionate about this thing. The teaching sort of component of it, it's just not worth the cost to do it. You could do a lot more teaching. I've seen so many people just teach in community college. They teach, a class or two, and they have a great time. And you can even teach at a lot of universities. Most universities, if you're good in the profession, they're going to want to hire you as an adjunct anyways. You could do that. So there's no value, right? Like zero value of you to do it just to teach. It's not going to benefit you, so don't do it. And the last thing I want you to do before you do any sort of, you jump into it, once you've done all this kind of stuff, just look up on LinkedIn the graduates from these programs, whichever one you're really curious about, or maybe you got in. Just talk to the graduates. Go talk to them and see whether they think it was worth it. It's going to save you so much time and effort. Just look on LinkedIn, look on the internet, do some Googling, and find those people and shoot them an email and say, hey, was this, I got into this program, really curious about it. Can you give me some insight? And that's it. It's going to help you out so much. And you're going to thank me a bazillion times over if you do this in a decade. And, I'm going to help you. Hopefully this helps you make that decision. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.